Hey everyone, short video today. I wanted to talk about some of the new Minecart mechanics in Minecraft. I say those two mixed up a lot. The new Minecart mechanics in 1.5. So 1.5 came out earlier last week, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. Lots of redstone stuff. It's being called the redstone update, and I definitely agree with that. It doesn't seem like Optifine's out quite yet, and also my Adventure Time texture pack has not been updated yet, so I am playing on the default texture pack. And even worse, it seems like the skin servers are down at the moment, so I've got this Steve skin. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to show off some of the cool stuff here. I'm in my test world, in my minecart section. Because I love minecarts, I really do. I think they're probably one of the coolest things in Minecraft is these little carts that you can ride around. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with them now. There was cool stuff you could do before, and now there's even more cool stuff that you can do now. And I think I've talked about this before on a previous episode. This is a Tavi Rider system. It's a single line input system that lets you go to multiple destinations. So it's really good in single player because if you come in here and you've got a cart, you can get in the cart and then you can pick any destination you want. You got your red destination, blue, green, orange, black, however many you want to hook up that you can reasonably reach. And then you press that destination and you go, and you just press the destination, and there you go, and it goes and it sends you off on the red destination. So if I want to go somewhere else, I could press the blue destination, and maybe my system doesn't work. Oh, it just occurred to me that the redstone timing has changed. That's another thing to note about 1.5. Redstone timing is a little bit different, and I think that's affecting my repeaters. I've got all these repeaters set up down here, very timed, trying to get them correct. Lots of trial and error there, and it seems that they've changed and they're not working as I expect them to. So that's going to have to be changed later on. But basically this works by saying if you send a redstone signal, that redstone signal will eventually not reach these other guys because, as we know, redstone only extends for a certain length. That's why we use repeaters to kind of extend our signal. What I've done here is that we've got the signal that comes down off of these guys, comes all the way over to here, and once it gets to here, this is where it kind of dead ends. The furthest one away is 15 blocks, and it says, okay, I can't go any further. I'll disable this torch, but I can't disable any of the other torches because I can't reach them. So this torch gets disabled, this track, and I think this one, it might be that the first button stops right here, and what it does is it basically doesn't change anything. It all stays the same, and then it sends you down the default path. Now, once you press the next button, it does hit here, and it disables this, and then it sends you off on your way, or on your way here. What it'll do is it'll just turn this torch off, and you can see it switch the track, and then it'll send you there. But it won't disable the next one and effectively make you go further because it doesn't reach this block, this piece of redstone here. And because it doesn't reach that, it makes you go a certain way. And that's kind of the pattern. Like the next one will go here, will reach here because that's how far the signal goes, because it's a closer button to the right, to the sunset. And it disables the next one and it sends you on your way that way because it disables this. This switches, allows the cart to go further along the path, and then it goes here and it checks, and because the signal doesn't reach this one, it goes, okay, well I'm going to go down this path, and then repeat the cycle based on how long that redstone signal is. And it is turning night. I'm going to have to set up a command block in here to automatically turn it to day. I'll do that eventually. But what I wanted to talk mostly about are some of the new mechanics. This is something that I've had in my Frontier world for probably about a year now. I made a video on it a long time ago. It's a really cool system. I think comparators make it easier, but we'll have to see. So the next thing we need to talk about, let's see. Let's go ahead and talk about cart dispensing, because that's actually changed now. This is probably the biggest update in here, is how we dispense carts has changed drastically. It's a very, very new process. So the way we used to dispense carts before, the way you used to store carts before a lot of things, you could store them in single bays, which is something I have kind of over here, work in progress. It's something I used to do is I store them in these bays here and then I send them. I have videos on that, really old videos, where I was doing that. But the most common way people used to do it were Pez dispensers, where you throw a minecart in here and it's not very well set up quite yet, because kind of just threw it together. And then what you do is you'd send like a 1-tick pulse to this trapdoor here, and I can just do it manually, and it loads the minecart. And then if you've got a powered rail here, you turn on that power rail, and then it sends it on its way. And that allows you to store physical minecarts and then send them off when you need them. So you can call and store minecarts whenever you want to. However, dispensers were eventually made so that you could dispense physical minecarts. So it used to be, if you dispensed a minecart, it would drop as an item. But they changed it so if as long as there's a rail in front of it, maybe even without a rail, I'm not sure, it will dispense a physical minecart. So that's really cool, because now we can store our minecarts in here and dispense them when we want. The problem is, how do we get the minecarts in the dispenser? So if we've got all these minecarts, every time we dispense them, if we want to get rid of them, what we have to do is, we have to basically dispense it, break it, and then put the item back in the dispenser, and that's all done manually. And you can certainly do that, and it's actually clearly it's more space saving than something like this, where you're storing a bunch of minecarts. It gets really tall, takes a lot of stuff to make, and it's annoying. A lot of powered rails. And if you've got the gold to spare, I mean, go ahead, because it does look cool. But otherwise, it's kind of annoying. It's a little buggy sometimes. So what we want to do is we want to be able to get minecarts in here, and that wasn't possible until now, to do it automatically anyways. Because if you've got minecarts roaming around, throw these guys, I can't just like make them run into the dispenser and have that work. It's just not going to do anything. So we need a different tool. We need a different block. We need something that lets us do that. And that has arrived in the form of the hopper block, which I should probably just pull out. Let's go hopper. The hopper is a really cool new item in Minecraft 1.5. And what it basically is, you open the GUI, you can see it's got 5 slots in here. And what it'll do is, if I place it down on the chest, or any other item with an inventory, so this chest is inventory, hopper is inventory, if I throw something in here, it automatically sends it into the chest. So that's cool. So we can put items in here and throw them into our chest, but why not just put them in the chest? Why would we bother with this? Well, it's another function of the hopper. If you throw an item as an entity, oop, I missed. I'll throw something bigger. How about a minecart with chest? If I throw this in here, where did it go? It went into the hopper, and then it went into the chest. So now we can drop broken items or like item entities, like a chest or whatever, in here. And there we go. They get stored in here. That is exactly what we need to make this setup work. And that's what I have set up right here. This is an automatic minecart storage system. What it does is it basically replaces the old Pez dispenser system. It is, in my opinion, probably the single best way in order to run things. There might be another way to do it. I'm not entirely sure. This is the idea that came to mind. Tavi Ryder had in his system a way to store the minecarts with the Pez dispenser, but he also had a system that detected when that Pez dispenser was full. In other words, when it would not receive any more minecarts. I have the same setup. Basically, a torch lights up and says, okay, the system cannot receive more minecarts. Don't put any minecarts in me. What he did, too, to go a step further, is he put in an overflow. So what would happen is if you sent a minecart to the Pez dispenser, it would get rerouted to this other area that has like a cactus by it. And what it would do is it would simply break the block, or break the minecart on the cactus. So if a minecart impacts a cactus, it will break it. And in fact, I'll show you what I mean. Let's get a minecart. And we've got cactus, and we need some sand. And basically, if I put the sand here, and I put the minecart here, and I do this, if I send the minecart at the cactus, you can see that the minecart breaks into an object that you can pick up. So now what happens if we do the same process, but we put a hopper right below that block? And that's what I've done here. I've got a hopper here and this cactus block. So if I put a minecart up here and I push it, and probably the best way, a little bit better way to do this, because I kind of threw all this together pretty quickly, would be to have a powered rail, like right here, and a lever. Just to make sure that's going at a good speed so that it actually goes into the... Oh, sorry about that. And throw it, and you can see that they're being turned into items. And then they're disappearing. It's not because the cactus is destroying them. It's because the hopper is picking them up. So the hopper is picking them up, and it's putting them into our dropper. And the dropper is another new block we've got to talk about. It looks like the dispenser, but it's a little bit different. It does a couple different things. It always drops an item as an entity. So you remember if you put an arrow in a dispenser, what happens? It shoots that arrow when you trigger it, right? So if I put an arrow in here... Oh, disappeared. I guess I didn't grab it. I've been doing that a lot today. Okay, I guess I'll do it like that. I don't know what's really going on there. If I do this, and then I trigger it, it just puts out the item. This is how I believe they used to work. I can't remember if they used to have it like this or not for the dispensers. But anyways, that's definitely not how the dispensers work now. If I grab some arrows and I put them in here, and then I trigger it, it's going to actually shoot those arrows. So, that's not really what we want. We don't want it to shoot, which thankfully it's not going to do. But otherwise it's going to act as a dispenser. It's also going to act as a dispenser, or it's also going to act different from a dispenser when we put in a minecart. So if I put in a minecart and I dispense it, it drops as an item, not as the physical drop that we get from a dispenser here. So the question is, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to dispense as an item? Well, that's the cool function of the dispenser. And if I grab a chest right here, if I grab any item with an inventory and I put it in front of the dispenser, and then I put something in the dispenser like a minecart, and I trigger it, it kind of froze up for a second. It actually puts that item into the chest. So now I can take items from my dropper and put it into an item with inventory, and I can get items into here via other means. Okay, so kind of a long way to go around this, because couldn't you do it another way? What I have set up here is simply kind of a roundabout way of doing this, where you have these items getting sorted into the dropper, you flip the dropper, and it puts them into the dispenser, and then you flip the dispenser, and it dispenses the item. Now, like I said just a moment ago, you could do this a little bit easier if you set it up where the hopper directly linked into the dispenser, and that would certainly work. The reason I had it set up like this is because it was just interesting to use both the hopper, both the dropper and the dispenser and the hopper all in one unit, and link them together just to kind of show how they work together. But definitely what you could do, for instance over here, is we could just put, so if I get rid of this, if I just grabbed a hopper, and I don't know why that isn't, something's different with that. If I just grab this and I did it like this, you'd have the same, where are you? You'd have basically the same effect. It gets stored in the dispenser. So now we have a way to store our sorry, my frame rate just went to crap. Now we have a way to actually store our minecarts in a dispenser, call from the dispenser when we need to, and that's really cool. That actually lets us do some neat stuff. So I still need to talk about the comparator a little bit. The comparator basically lets us identify how many objects are in an inventory. It also lets us use it for several other functions, but this is probably my favorite function. So basically, if I take all these minecarts out of here, you can see that the redstone signal being sent out of the comparator has stopped. If I put one item in, it powers 2 redstone blocks away. If I put another one in, it powers another 2 redstone blocks away. If I put another one in, for some reason it only powers 1 away, and I'm not sure why it does this as opposed to powering another 2 away. But what you can do is you can just keep throwing items in here, and you can see the repeaters light up in turn. What this does is it lets us basically make counters if you put like pistons over here or something that say, okay, I know how many items are in an inventory, and I can send an output when it's full. So I could wire this up all the way over here at the end, forget all these guys, and just say, okay, I know when it's full, it's going to send an output to this repeater here, and have this just be an indicator light, and maybe put a sign above it that says lit when full or something, or maybe change a track so that now any extra carts that you have will not go to this dropper. In fact, they'll go to maybe a different dropper, or they'll go to a different, it maybe doesn't have to be a dropper, it can be a dispenser, or possibly even a chest. You could actually sort it into a chest, and you might think to yourself, okay, well, if I do that, then what? Well, you can maybe even use an item hopper in a minecart. So if you have them getting routed to a chest, so let's say you've got a hopper over the chest and you've got one of these things set up, so you have more storage space in here. So let's say we get a bunch of minecarts again, which are in transportation, and we get a couple of these guys, and we fill them in here. So let's say you've been routing minecarts into here from, like, you've got a hopper on top, and you've got that same setup we used with the cactus over there on this chest, and so now we want those. So how do we get them into our dispenser, maybe a backup dispenser that we have? Well, we can send this guy over and say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and hopper those from this chest to here, and it should enters the hopper, and it doesn't need to be powered, does it? Yeah, that's a good question. Does it need an activator rail? I really have no idea. I thought it just worked that way. Well, we're learning something every day, aren't we? If I send this, get over there. No, apparently not. Hold on, let me figure out what's going on here. Alright, I figured out what the problem was. Apparently the minecart with hopper will only send items through another hopper, which seems counterintuitive because you've already got one hopper. But yeah, basically if you just send this over to another hopper, it will unload the items that were in the item hopper that's inside the minecart, which unloads the items that were in a chest. And these things don't have to be lined up, they can be wherever you want. I mean, this thing can go somewhere else and pick up items or whatever. It'll also pick up items that are lying on the ground from what I've read. And indeed it did, it picked it up. And so if I send it back now, it will put it in the hopper. So if I had a chest beneath this one, of course, it would fill up with those items, which is cool, really cool. There's more to learn about hoppers, there's more to learn about comparators, a lot more to learn about comparators and what those things do. But I think that this system, something like this, is going to be the way of the future for storing minecarts and sending minecarts, with storage options that you can use with the comparators. And this is really cool. Like, there's some item transportation things you can do with this, particularly if you want to send items from maybe one base to another base. This is a really cool way to do it. But I think in the future what I'll do is I'll do an overhaul of my Adventure Time world, make a really good minecart station, and I'll use a lot of these techniques to do it. So I hope you guys had fun, or I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you have fun messing with minecarts and other redstone things in this newest update. Hopefully Optifine is out soon, and my texture pack gets updated eventually. I would really enjoy that. And that's all for today, so until next time then.